everybody, it's Leah. I am home with the flu. So ill. I've been in bed for 3 days and I'm tired of lying in bed. So we're making a video. I am going to try the watercolor trend. It's been going for quite a while, and a long time ago I bought the stuff to do this watercolor trend and just didn't get to it because I liked some other things that I wanted to try and I didn't have the right photo I felt to go along with, you know, what I wanted to try. So I finally have something to scrapbook. I mean, I've had the photo, but I didn't think about the photo for a long time. I'm going to be using these wonderful Artist Loft watercolors. This is what the package looks like when you get it. And it's got plastic. And you can pick them up at Michael's. I think they retail for about $7, and you are able to use coupons on it. So I think I paid like $3 for this tray of watercolors. It's got 36 colors, and when you open the container, the tray becomes your mixing pan, which is really fantastic, and the colors are just so rich and vibrant. And I've seen like scrapbookers like Amy Tan uses this, and quite a few others. They're really great for doing like hand brushing. I am not so good at the brushing. You give me a calligraphy pen, we can work some magic, but brushes, nah. So I'm going to basically be using this to manipulate color on my backgrounds and alter some things that are made on watercolor paper. For me, trying trends is about incorporating trends that I wouldn't necessarily try or I see and I'm excited about, but they have to, at the end of the day, fit my aesthetic and the way that I like to scrapbook. So for me, that is texture and layers and embellishments. And so I've chosen a lot of embellishments that either can be altered with watercolor or have a watercolor feel to them, so that I can get a lot of that idea in one layout. All right. To start, I have these color splash items that are unfortunately no longer available, but they were available at Michael's, although Michael's has a new watercolor and the boho are also back. So definitely hit Michael's up and see what they have. One of the items that I got is a color resist pen. It is fantastic. You write on whatever you want, and when you brush over with the watercolor, it does not stick to the resist area once the resist area is dry. I have these wonderful stamps I probably will not use, but I just wanted to show you how if you don't feel comfortable using watercolors, you can use a stamp like this to create a watercolor effect and get the idea of watercolor without necessarily having to use them. Sorry, I'm so sick. Okay, these doilies I thought were absolutely beautiful. I just love them. I may or may not use them. Again, everything that I'm showing you I may or may not use, but I did get them specifically to do a layout with the watercolor trend, so we'll see. I think they're just darling. The florals, very nice. I have these Project Life inserts, like you put them in the pockets and it's an overlay, and it goes over your picture and creates a little bit of texture and whatever it is that you want to add. I love the hand brushed, here, I'll put it down so you can see it. The hand brushing on that I thought was really fun and had that watercolor effect, and that's why I picked these up. And I also liked that once you lay it on the, it's very subtle. So I could put this on top of my photo or layer it behind it, cut it up. I haven't decided. You know, when you see them all stuck together in here in the package, like it looks kind of a little bit like ew. But when they're separate, they're absolutely gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. Next, I have some embellishments that can be altered, and these tags are from Heidi Swapp. And sorry, my thing's still a little bright. I don't know what. Nope. Maybe, nope. Sorry, I'm trying to, no. Why can't I switch this? There we go. Okay. There we go. Okay. So you can see these tags are from Heidi Swapp, and they are made of watercolor paper. And I just love the idea that I can draw on them with resist, write my journaling in the resist, and then brush the paint over, and that would be really cool. Dear Lizzie, I picked these up recently at Tuesday morning. They had a bunch of Dear Lizzie stuff. Actually, I'll show you both of the things that I picked up recently. And these had regular and also watercolor paper words, so I may use that for my title. I don't know. I can't decide what my title's going to be yet, but you'll see the picture in a minute, and it's so fun. So yeah, these letters were really pretty. The colors are great, and then they had these embellishments. And again, I went for these kind of clear acetate embellishments because it has that feeling of lightness and sheerness that watercolor has. Some twine. What else do I got here? Whoa! These are really solid embellishments. Just some Maggie Holmes open book. These Amy Tangerine enamels, epoxy enamels. I love them because again, you get that kind of look of that watercolor. And again, it's not just about brushing watercolor on your page. It's looking at these sheer things, and getting the idea of the feeling of the watercolor without necessarily having to use a lot of water. I love these because of the brush strokes. Again, it has that feeling like it's been done with the brush. These also, because I'm not very good with the brushstroke lettering, I may use these again in my title. They are Amy Tangerine thickers. Okay, so my photo that I'm going to use is this picture of me wearing the Manolo Blahnik Carey shoes. No, I didn't buy them because they were like $963, and I'm like, that was the original price, and I was like, oh, I'm at Neiman Marcus off whatever, you know, one of those outlets, and I'm like, oh, they'll probably be like $250. Like, maybe I'll splurge a little. I mean, $250 is a lot for a pair of shoes, but you know. No, they were still like $700. And I was like, that is not a deal. I want a deal. I want $200 Manolo Blahnik shoes, especially when they are not that comfortable as you would think they would be. They were the most uncomfortable shoes I've ever put on my feet. You would think for $1,000 that these things would feel like velvet, and they did not. They were so uncomfortable, but darned if they don't look cute. I mean, seriously, and in the peach, I love those shoes. They're so pretty. Maybe the flats. Maybe if I can get the flats. They're, you know, on sale though. And I mean like a deal. Like I don't want to pay $700 Manolo Blahnik. So I don't even want to pay $1,000. So that's my photo, and my little experience trying them on will be my journaling. For my background papers, I'm trying to decide between one of these white papers with the resist on it. Again, I want to be able to really enhance my use of the watercolor, and I thought it would be really fun to have a resist paper as opposed to a regular white paper. And so this one has like a fish scales, and the other one is a stripe. I haven't decided which one I'm going to use yet. And then the papers that I've chosen for my layering, because I'm not going to use a lot, because I do want to do a lot of embellishing, and I want to use some of that clear acetate stuff. This one is a, because I just like the feet. I might use it, might not, I don't know. Is Date Night from Chicken Nitty. I got it in a pack of the whole, of all the papers, and I am destashing, so I only kept the ones that I liked. This beautiful paper and this one are from the Studio Calico Print Shop collection. May or may not still be available if you go online or if you go to Tuesday Morning as I did. I love this ampersand, and I love this floral, and I just love the idea of layering those two, and I love the colors work so well with my photo. The peaches and the pink of it, and then also that brown just pulls in the nice color of my beautifully tanned feet, which were out for like one whole day, and then I put them right back in my socks after that because I don't like the sun. All right, so I am going to clear up my station, and when I come back we will be in fast forward. And I start by opening up these Dear Lizzie watercolor phrases, and I know that there's one says "You are lovely," and I think to myself, oh, I finally have an idea of what my title is going to be. So I wanted the title of my layout to be Hello Lover, because Carrie says that on one episode about a pair of shoes and she walks past them in a window. And I definitely felt that way when I walked past these shoes. So I'm cutting up these watercolor letters and going to fit them together so that it says my title, and it takes just a little bit of work. This is a great way to get if you want a custom title but you don't want to use individual letters and you have some phrases that you can kind of work them back together. So after I glue this together, I'm gonna prepare to watercolor them. Now I make a couple of mistakes. The first is that I should have wet the paper before I put the watercolor paint onto it, because it needed
water to flow over the paper, which again, it's been a very long time since I've worked in watercolors. My second is that I didn't exactly decide what colors I was really going to use on my layout before I started painting. And while it's okay to experiment, there's nothing wrong with it, I really kind of only had one shot with these. It's not like I could paint over them again because it is watercolor and I didn't want to use a solid paint. So I'm going to set it aside. I'm going to keep trying to use it, and eventually I do come up with something else. So now I'm going to cut my picture down. I printed it out in 4x4 and wanted to put just a little bit of white trim so that it stood out against my other papers, because they are all patterns. I'm not going to use really any solid paper on this layout except for the white, which I'm going to, obviously watercolor on. Pardon me. So I start by layering that chicken nitty paper, and this is where I finally decide what colors I wanted. And I love the colors that I chose, this kind of peachy color, a pink and the fuchsia. And I'm just going to take this paper from the Studio Calico paper, and I don't know why I can't remember what it's called, and I'm just going to watercolor a little bit on each of the flowers, and I just love the way that looks. It's such a great way to get a little bit of something into some of your more basic papers. If you have black and whites or paper like this where there's nothing going on, it's good to kind of watercolor in or paint in the pictures and the design on the paper. So now I've got my striped paper, and I'm going to take the same colors and just make these kind of little puddles. And I could have used a bigger brush and more water, but I wanted to kind of do it a little bit at a time and kind of build it up. And I just wanted it to be faint. I didn't want it to stand out too much on the paper, and to be very small puddles. I didn't want it to be like these big giant splotches. And I found that when I brushed the color onto the paper, I thought that it was going to soak in between the shiny stripes, but it ended up painting on top of them, which I was really actually fine with. I really liked the way that it looked. This is me trying to figure out something better I can do with these letters. In the past, I've used Prismacolor wax pencils with watercolor in my art, and I've loved the effect of it, but it didn't really work out so well. Next, I'm going to take those Color Splash doilies, and I'm just going to try and figure out where I want to use them. And I didn't want it to look too much like the last layout I did with the silver doilies, but I did really want to use them. They're so beautiful. And so I start by cutting those apart and then cutting this transparency, because I really wanted to put my title on the transparency to give more of that watercolor look. And while I like the colors, I'm not 100% a fan of the design and the styling of it. And then I start going through those other Dear Lizzie things, trying to find other kind of acetate embellishments, and it just wasn't working. So I'm like, okay, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna get some washi to kind of give that I love the sheerness of washi, how you can see through it when you lay it down on at least some of them when they have the white in between the designs, how you get a little bit of that sheerness that watercolor kind of has. So now I'm just putting a few pieces down just to kind of anchor again my pictures down and my layers, and I'm feeling good. At this point, I'm feeling really good about this part of it. I love the way that looks with the watercolor paint underneath it, and so now I'm going to make a little layered embellishment, but I didn't want it to stick down right away, and oh my god. So I had this bit of acetate paper, and I couldn't find it, and acetate is really great for putting your stickers on because it doesn't stick, but the outside of the packaging is not acetate, and so my words stick down. All my embellishments stick down to that. It's a mess, but I get it off, but it was a lot of hard work. So so I'm happy with the way that is. I add a little bit more watercolor to my background where I want my title to go, and now I'm just going to glue these embellishments down, and it's just a flare button, and that camera, I love that clear camera. You can see the paint through behind it. It looks so pretty. And now I'm just going through these Mombi Chips, I think it's Bestie, I think it's called, and just pulling out the hearts that look like they're painted on like watercolors. I thought they were really pretty. And the Word Beautiful is also from that collection. So now my camera cuts out. My camera keeps cutting out because I keep running out of space, and keep having this problem. It's taking me forever to scrapbook. Those acetate letters are from Bella Rouge collection. I love that that collection was very nice, but the letters were really, really nice because they looks kind of masculine, but still the shape of them was feminine because I like the striping on it. I don't know. So I find these, and now I'm going to take this Maggie Holmes open book thing, and I put it down, and I regret it right away. I'm like, oh, that's too low, because I like it, just the whole thing is just now shifted too low, and I didn't really have anything to put above it. So I'm like, man, let me just glue down some sequins. Excuse me. And trying to just recover some stuff. I put some washi at the top to maybe kind of give the page a little more weight. And I'm just, the more I keep going, the more I'm like, this is not working. So I stop. I literally stop. I walk away. I go do some things. I lay down. I take a nap. I come back. And I'm like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to cut this off. I'm just going to get rid of it. I'm just going to get rid of it. So in order to make my cut, I have to take some of my embellishments off. And once I cut this side off, I'm like, okay, this is much better. I'm at a better starting point. Cut my title apart, and I'm gonna find another paper to glue this whole thing to, and to reposition everything a little bit better. So I go back to that Studio Calico paper and Print Shop. That's it. It's Print Shop, and I find this paper, and it's got this ombre, like orange to like a tealy purple kind of in the corner. And the polka dots all look like little tiny watercolor dots. And I was like, oh, it's perfect. So I'm just trimming up my white paper because it was just a little bit big. And I'm going to put it on there. And it's not going to be 100% centered because I didn't really want my whole thing centered. When I put my title on, I just put it way too low. So I'm going to try again. And I'm going to use some pop dots. And I feel like that's really going to help make everything, you know, like look a little bit more thoughtful. I think also too, the white was just too much white for me. I mean, I did that white pages. I tried it, and as much fun as it is, I just don't think I can handle a whole white page again. I think it was just too much. And I love the way that this looks with all the watercolor on it, and then on top of it I have like this watercolor paper in behind, and it pulls colors out from my embellishments, which I really enjoy. So now I have that card, and I like it. I just don't think it was right for my journaling. So I'm gonna anchor my title to it instead. So first I'm gonna glue this down, and then I'm going to use pop dots to place my title so I get a little bit of shadow and dimension. Oh yeah, and I'm going to mount it on more of this ampersand paper, which I love. There's only 2 sheets in a pack, and I'm like, oh no, but I think it's actually still available, not as cardstock, but as regular paper at Michael's in the single section, so I may pick one more up. Yep, so again, here we go with the pop dots. I love pop dots. I love popping my things up. It really adds something when all of your stuff is not just glued flat down to your layout. And that's also why I don't glue everything around the edges. I leave space so it can float up off the page a little bit and create little bits of shadow. So when you look in the book, it has a little something. So it's coming up soon, the place where, yeah, here it is. So my camera cut out. So first I took and I moved my you can see there that too. I moved my washi over on top of that white area, and I love the way that this layered looks. I'm going to take a piece of white paper, and I'm going to watercolor it with the same colors that I chose to put onto that striped paper, and then I'm going to print my my journaling out. And I decided to go with the typewriter font because, I mean, Carrie Bradshaw is, you know, notorious for sitting down at her keyboard, and I just love the typewriter idea. I tried originally to make the spacing just at 1, but decided to go about, I think I did 1.5, just so you can see more of the watercoloring on the actual paper, and you can see there, it looks so beautiful. And when I cut it up, you just get these little bits of watercolor that harken to what I did to the page. So next you're going to see here, this is it cut apart, me setting everything up so I know the order that I'm going to place it on my page. And first I lay it down. I really want to make sure I know where I'm putting it before I glue it all down. And I'm really happy with the way that this layout turned out. It's one of my favorites. I love that polka dot ombre watercolor paper look in the back on the mounted paper. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed this foray into watercolors.